Hey guys, welcome back. I'm Nick, your host of On the Scene with Martini. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and don't forget, you are the scene.
Hey guys, what's up? It's Nick, On the Scene with Martini. Today it's a little different. I'm behind the camera, but we got...
What's up? I'm Harold. I play guitar in Koyo and I sing in Lovesick.
What's up? I'm Joey. I sing in Koyo and play bass in Lovesick.
So pretty little vice versa. It's cool that you guys have like a little family going on. You can just play different bands and still have a good time.
Yeah.
Very convenient.
Lovesick is mostly Koyo, so it's really convenient. We're going to Japan together in a couple months, and it's like 7 guys, 2 bands. It's awesome.
That's awesome. And that's actually like one of my first things that I wanted to bring up. You guys are doing, was it like 5 or 6 shows, then you guys are playing Blood Axe Festival in Japan. You guys have never done like a double duty kind of deal in terms of Lovesick and Koyo, have you?
No, not yet. I don't think we've done any real like double duty touring, despite having obviously like a bunch of other bands with some crossover through the years. This will be the first real time.
There was one show where Koyo was supposed to play with our old band, which was basically like pre-Lovesick. The same thing. It was called Soul Provider, and Soul Provider was supposed to open and Koyo was supposed to play like mid-card, and it got canceled. That was the only other time we've ever like meshed 2 projects that were working together. That was the Shaker show. It was like
Before
a
COVID?
Shaker
Yeah. That's right.
It was supposed to be Soul Provider, Reign of Salvation, Koyo. So it was basically going to be like 8 people, 3 bands.
Yeah.
We were all
That's
just like,
wild.
yeah, it was
Really
awesome.
nuts in hindsight.
It's kind of like a cheat code though for a good little tour.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
we've talked about doing like, if Reign of Salvation ever comes back, we talked about doing Koyo, Reign of Salvation, Lovesick, Hangman, whatever, Pain of Truth. Like they're all like the same small group of people, you know.
For sure. You could do the whole tour in one van if you wanted to.
Exactly.
Which is crazy.
You guys are doing Japan with like double duty and stuff. Was that kind of just obviously big year for you guys coming out, new album. You guys are going over touring, headlining. You guys have a big U.S. headline tour. Picking Japan, what made you guys want to pick Lovesick to support instead of going for like another traditional way, I guess you say?
I think I was just sort of like, I remembered how small the van was in Japan, and the band that we had taken last time, Hollow Suns, like can't really tour anymore. And like there are plenty of other Japanese bands that we really wanted to play with, but there was also a degree at which it was like there are too many. So we're hoping that, you know, Mizuki, who runs Ice Girls, has our list of support bands that we'd really like to see on the shows. Like it's such an amazing hardcore scene over there, but we were just like, oh, the band's really tiny, and you know, Lovesick is basically Koyo, so like let's just throw, you know, a 10-minute set before Koyo sets on these shows. And like I think another reason we did it was because when we were over there last 2 years ago, they were so knowledgeable about our previous projects and our side projects that we just thought, like at a lot of shows we got asked to do Soul Provider sets, and we were just like, yo, they're like, we assume at least there will be a time, maybe if it's not now, where there is an appreciation for Lovesick as like a proxy of us, and it would be really cool to be able to play out there. How many opportunities are we going to have to go to Japan, you know? And we get to bring our best friends. It's like, it's awesome.
For sure. When you guys were talking about earlier about how like there's so many different bands over in Japan, when you guys are an American band, right, are you guys doing research and stuff, or is it kind of naturally coming just being in the scene, like seeing all these different bands, like, and where you guys kind of want to go?
I think it's a little bit of both in the way of like, there's like all these bands that we knew before we went out there, like Boils of the Grave, Numb, Sand, like there's all these bands you're like aware of, which is awesome that even as an American band, like stuff like that can inevitably like be stuff you're aware of. But I think we also just like found out a lot about a lot of bands when we were there on tour just by way of them being on the shows, which just increased interest and appreciation for that. You know?
It was them being at the shows. It was people like we had extra time at the end of that tour to like sort of explore Japan, and we
went to some more shows.
Yeah, we went to more shows. We met more people. We like talked to a lot of them. So it really felt like we were able to get a decently good look at like how many different really cool bands there were over there. And like we've stayed in touch with a lot of people that we met while we were over there, and that's made it a lot easier to keep up with like who's playing, like who wants to play more shows, you know, stuff like that. And so yeah, I'd say it's a little bit of both.
And to that same point, like even beyond like Japan, like one of the few good things I would say about like the modern internet era of music and hardcore by proxy is like you just know when stuff's happening. You open your phone, you open Instagram, and like a new demo by 4 kids somewhere random in the country that you otherwise would have never seen unless you like toured there is now like immediately available to you, and that also goes with stuff all over the world, which is sick.
Totally.
For sure. Right now, again, we're in front of Lithuanian Music Hall. You guys are supporting Angel Dust. This is a sick lineup. Like it's a perfect mix of like New York hardcore, Baltimore, like you kind of ranging from there, right? Lovesick is still relatively new in terms of playing shows live. Obviously, you guys have a lot of experience playing shows with Koyo, but is it a different type of adaptation, like with the different roles now in Lovesick?
For me, like I don't know if it's the same for you because you're playing bass in other bands, like Never Back Down, and like you've had a history of like playing bass in bands. But for me, it literally feels like it feels like Koyo doesn't exist to a degree. It's a kind of weird. I literally get like nervous, and I get like it feels like Koyo does not exist. It's hard to explain, but it literally feels like this is a completely separate entity, which is kind of great because it feels like refreshing.
Keeps it fresh.
Yeah. But how do you feel?
I mean, I honestly, like, it doesn't feel that different. I think the big difference is that, to me at least, when we play Koyo shows, it's like because I'm singing and fronting the band, I'm like very hyper aware of what's happening in front of me. I see it, I'm interacting with it, so it's like I know if the show's crazy, I know if the reaction's nuts. Lovesick shows are kind of a blur because I'm focusing on playing a little more. Like I know if like a song pops off or something like that, but it's like most of the time I'm like staring at the fretboard. That is a huge difference, honestly.
I have a newfound sympathy for Joey as a singer also. Like I think there is a certain degree at which like instrumentalists like to be like, and I do agree with it too, well, singers have the easiest job, but no. I was like, after like the second show, I was like, no, this shit sucks. Like I gotta talk.
It's got trade-offs.
Yeah, it does have its trade-offs, and I don't know. I'm not like I don't like really being like in the forefront of anything. So that's the part that's toughest for me. It feels like playing Koyo shows is like so easy because it feels like supernatural to me to just play guitar and like, you know, like back up Joey's vocals. But like just singing is fucking crazy, man. That shit sucks.
Yeah.
I really feel bad for people who have to do it full time. Like this is hard enough, but yeah, the lineup, like you were saying, is fucking awesome too. I mean, we're literally named after a Crown of Thorns song.
Yeah.
So it's like, this is awesome.
It was an easy yes for us.
Yeah. Angel Dust is awesome. Combust is awesome. Like I wish we were available to do more of the tour, but we're unfortunately doing Koyo stuff like literally right after this. Like we leave the last show we're doing on this tour, and we get picked up by the Koyo RV, and we go straight on tour. So.
You guys last year put out your first full length, I Am No One Now. When you guys put that out, typically like you have that EP route, right? What made you guys want to jump right into the full length? Was it just like, again, being comfortable, like being in so many previous projects, you were like, well, you could just bang it out, or having content before?
I think it was sort of like we had evaluated a number of cautionary tales where bands that we were friends with didn't just drop the LP at first like they should have. You know, like
drop 3 songs, it takes forever to go to your next 2, and then even longer for the next many.
And it's like, you had the songs, just put them out, you know. And it's like, I think more so to us was also like the time. It's like I think it's 8 songs and they're like 9 minutes total together, you know, which is like that, you know, it's shorter than like a Koyo 3-track single would be like longer than what would be longer than the Lovesick LP. So it's like to be able to do that and just like shock drop it. No, I don't want to say shock drop because nobody knew who the fuck we were.
But just kind of come out swinging with
got
it,
enough music, you know, exactly. We can just like
no need to hold anything back. Like, that's just like, why would we slice and dice this when we have a bunch of short songs that we already think are dope?
Yeah, like, and we all just, everyone in the band just like wrote a couple of songs and like put them together, and it just made it so, it felt so like cooperative, you know. It was really, really fun. Like, recording it was just all us and Alex from Carbine, Discontent, Final Resting Place. Like, it was just like all in-house. It was like very chill. It was just, we wrote all the songs at my apartment or TJ's apartment, you know. It was just very, why not just like throw as many as we could out, you know. We thought about doing even more. We were like, yo, what if we did 12?
If we had more time, like, to write a little more before we were on to the next batch of Koyo stuff, there probably would have been more, honestly.
Totally.
Was that the reason for the drop? Because when you guys dropped that, you guys really started like teasing to the new Koyo album and the new Koyo album and stuff. So like, was that kind of just a time like, hey, let's drop this, let it kind of resonate and kind of go back?
Yeah, honestly, I would say that this is like implicitly inspired by Angel Dust and Turnstile and Trapped Under Ice when we were kids.
Yeah,
you know, they would
just
like
doing a bunch of bands with the same people.
Yeah, they would drop something, and then when that band like went on tour or whatever, they'd come home and they'd drop the other band, and then they would drop the other band. And it felt like, and it was like, you know, coming up through hardcore, I felt like every group of friends had that, you know, Title Fight Bad Seed. Like, you have your groups of bands that are largely the same people.
Yeah.
That you just sort of like you have fun with one, and then you're like, oh, you know, it'd be really fun doing another band.
Totally.
You know, and like,
and it's all the scratch itches of like a select few influences at any given time.
yeah,
You know?
we're literally in the process of writing another record for a different band that I can't talk about yet. But it's like, we're going to have we're going to have another record for a different band, hopefully out at some point this summer.
It's all it is. You just keep it all in rotation.
Yeah,
There's always something to do.
Keep making shit, you know. It's like,
The bottom line is this all in the interest of just playing shows and like being proactive. And like, the reality is, like, Koyo, although we play often, like, can't play the same city all the time. Lovesick could play New York 15 times in a row, and it's like not a big deal. Koyo, it's like, I hate to phrase it this way, but we have to be slightly selective about how often we play. So it's like,
which is not by choice. We want to be able to play all the time.
Like, that's just the nature of it.
So I don't think anyone's really holding it against
Yeah,
you.
it's like,
if they don't have opportunity to see you, it might be on them.
Yeah, that's true.
Also, like, the ebb and flow of all this stuff is like, you play a lot, and then you have to pull back a little bit because you have to make it matter when you play. Like, even interpersonally, you have to be like, yo, it means something when we play. And at some point, that might be Lovesick too. And there will be another band that we're doing that will be playing every local show. You know, it's like, that's just the cycle of all this stuff.
That's awesome. You guys are doing, for this upcoming album, you guys are doing a full U.S. headlining tour. You guys are also going to be with Rise Against, Hot Mulligan, and then you guys are named on some pretty big festivals, Sound and Fury, etc. What are you guys most looking? This is like your first true U.S. headlining tour, right? Like, in terms of,
well, we did a headliner in November technically, and that was our first like real headlining tour. We don't have a headliner booked right now, do we?
Not currently.
Yeah, well, our next headliner is probably going to be...
It's like a whole batch of like support tours.
Yeah.
But that are like cumulatively like quite a lot of touring, honestly.
Yeah.
But
like, it's months and months of touring.
I would say the one I'm most excited for is Rise Against.
Yeah, that's pretty up there.
We learned how to play our instruments playing Rise Against songs.
Yeah, we used to cover Rise Against songs when we were like 12 years old in my parents' den. You know? Like, it's like that was like total day one music for us.
Thanos' first song that he learned on bass was like Blood to Bleed. Like, you know, like mine was on guitar was probably Like the Angel. And
not to be like, you know, dramatic or anything, but like it's basically childhood dream come true shit.
Oh,
like
100%.
if you told us at 12 years old that we'd be on this tour, we literally would not believe it.
Yeah,
It's
I got very
crazy.
emotional when we got the offer.
Yeah, it's nuts.
That's the tour I'm most excited for, I think.
Yeah.
It maybe, I don't think anything could top that right now. You know, like, knock on wood, maybe something does. Maybe it's the last tour we ever do. But if we do, it's like,
it's a good one.
If we do, that's like, yo, I can't think of something I want to do more than go out with the band that inspired me and my friends to make music when we were little kids. You know, I can't think of anything that means more than that.
May 8th is when your new album comes out, barely here. What was What was the main difference for you guys recording this album in comparison to old albums? Was there anything you guys really want to focus in on or hone on?
A couple of things. I mean, there's some differences and definitely some like focus points. I'd say the obvious big difference is that everyone has forever to write their first record. We had a finite amount of time on this one, but I think that was favorable for the record because I think that quote unquote time crunch of us just being on tour nonstop for almost 3 years was a lot of fuel to the record, you know, in both in terms of like inspiration and like mission statement. But the mission statement really was to just like do a record that reflected that, do something that is like no stops, full speed ahead, like no weird departure, ballad, crazy art piece record. We just wanted to do more of what we've always done and perhaps even go harder doing it.
Yeah, there's a lot of, not a lot, but I've seen a little bit of discourse on the internet about how this is, that people are theorizing this is a concept album, and I can wholeheartedly say it is not.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to burst your bubble. It is just a collection of, I mean, it's an album, you know, we wrote it as an album, but like Joey said, like I wrote the opening track to the record in the van, in the RV, and like I recorded it on my laptop. I demoed it on my laptop, and then I showed it to the guys like in the middle of like a 12-hour drive, you know, like that's a lot of the songs were the mission statement for the first record was urgency and aggression and like keeping true to like what we started Koyo to do in the first place, and the mission statement for this one was okay, do it harder. You know, pause.
Just more.
Yeah, just do it more. Just do the same thing. Just be urgent and be like aggressive and you know, just like foot on the gas.
Yeah.
Like we said first record we couldn't put a part on the record if it didn't sound like the foot was on the gas pedal, and this one we were like, okay, the gas pedal is like broken and like it cannot come up and the brake line is cut. Like that's what this has to sound like and feel like, you know. I'm sure people will disagree with that, but I don't give a fuck.
For sure. That's where our
write a better record. You probably could, you know.
Yeah. Write a record. It's not fucking easy.
Yeah.
You guys have toured, like you were saying, 3 years nonstop. I know I've seen you guys countless of times on those tours. You guys make a lot of friends, right? On you guys for features, you guys have Mirsy from Fleshwater and you have Sammy from Drain. I was at a Koyo Drain show and a Koyo Fleshwater show.
Awesome.
What made you guys want to pick those two artists to kind of represent that new album? Because features aren't always the most common thing in our scene, unless it's like a true split.
Yeah, I think like this record very well could have had no features. Speaking to the Mirsy one, like that song was one of the older demos that the record had, like one of the oldest written songs before we really got to work on the record. But even in its demo form, like 3+ years ago, I knew I wanted Mirsy on that song. I heard the part that she sang melodically, not the words, but the melody itself, like as early as when we demoed the earliest version of that song. Like I had that idea forever. And then for the song that Sammy's on, really just knew we wanted it to be like a friend from a hardcore band singing, and the right voice was a factor. Like I heard it a certain way in my head, and like conveniently, not only is like Sammy our fucking bro, and that's a band we're super close with and obviously have a close relationship with, but his voice was perfect for the part. So those two, the through line of that obviously being the friendship is king. It's like my brain is going to collaborating with friends because not only is that the type of people we care about and want to like be shoulder to shoulder with, but it's like that's instinct, is doing things with people you care about and fuck with, and like those are some of our best friends, you know.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. I really appreciate it, as always. You guys are always very kind to me, so I appreciate that a ton.
Same to you. Thank you so much.
Guys, May 8th, Barely Here will be out on all streaming platforms. Tons of tours. Best way to look at it is Koyo Instagram. I will link everything down below, and catch a tour, buy some merch, and the boys are always out hanging out, so say hello. Till next time, guys. Peace.